grade. And
sorry, let me just record that. It'll pop up on your screen. I don't want to forget to have this recorded. Okay.
And then I talked to another friend that I hadn't touched base with since like 7th grade, and she's a very successful business owner and like been mentioned in Forbes and all of that. And she shared with me that she had ADD too. And I was describing some of the things. And so just what's going on with my daughter, what I'm trying to do with my business, I think it's just really surfaced that, you know, I struggle with organization, I struggle with anxiety. And these days, I've always said I was like borderline depressive, but it's getting pretty hard to get through days.
Okay.
Don't have it, you know, and so that's where I am today. I mean, I will, you can frame this or circle back to it when you want, but I mean, the two inner child things that I have that I don't know why I'm so damn stuck is around, honestly, physical activity. Like I have some kind of I mean, I did yoga for a little while. But you know, even just taking a walk around the damn block, just, I don't know. I just block it and don't, and know how much it could be helpful for me. And I just want to know, maybe gain some more clarity on what my block is around physical activity. And the other one is definitely around worthiness. I, you know, probably only bring in $1,000 a month, and I was paying, you know, some liaison 600 and a VA another 300. So it was like for the last, since August, I've been probably putting out $900 of the $1,000 that I'm getting back. So
yeah.
And I remember working with another coach, and you know, she had me say like, I am worthy, and like most people, or some people, like if you try to say I'm beautiful, they're like, they can't do it. Like, I can't do it, I can't say I'm beautiful. Me, my whole, with I am wise, my whole just jaw locked up, tears rolling down my face, and I was like, I can't even say I'm wise. And, so anyways, there's the long version. I think that there's layers to what's going on, but definitely with what I'm going through with my daughter, every trauma trigger I have is all lit up, and it's hard to do anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so thank you so much for sharing that, so that I have some context to what is most immediate going on a cellular level right now, rather than just taking you into a space that's irrelevant. So I really appreciate you being open and sharing that with me. Can I ask, and I don't want to get into a story, were you pretty obedient as a teenager? Or were you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was pretty obedient. I mean, I will say it's one of those things where I was getting good grades, I babysat, I had a full-time job. I mostly followed the rules. I mean, I think in high school, maybe I had like, you know, this will date me too, but a purple passion or something like that, like in high school. And I do remember there was, but the one piece, and I guess even as I'm saying this makes sense, my trauma is around sexual abuse in the home. And so I will say the one space I probably stepped out was, I don't know that it's necessarily promiscuity, but I had a boyfriend. It took me years until adulthood before I really admitted to myself that my first time was a rape. Because I continued to date him afterwards. Like, it's one of those things that I was just like, oh, I'm dating him, we did this, I said no, but, and then kept dating him. And then loving relationship. It was just, I want to have a sophomore year. Lot of alcohol use, and one night in particular that I just don't even know what happened. I know I had
Mhm.
upperclassmen that were taking care of me, but I have no idea what the hell was going on. But come junior and senior year of college, cannabis came into play, and that was like a game changer and helpful.
Yeah. So, and the reason I ask this is because I wanted to see if there was a mirror between what is happening to your daughter and your own experiences. And oftentimes there is usually a trigger when you're going into this aspect of heavy cannabis use and heavy alcohol use. Usually for us women, there is some sort of usual sexual response that happened prior to that. Not saying that this has happened to your daughter, but there's usually some sort of a trigger. So I was wondering if in your own case you had that trigger, and it sounds like you did as well.
Yeah, and honestly, and I was wondering how big of a piece of the pie this was, but um, I went through my trauma counseling, and for about 3 years, when Ariana was around 5, yeah, it was right before kindergarten. So yeah, she would have been around 5. Uh, I was at a friend's house who had experience. She was, in her 50s, but as a child and up until I'm not sure what age, she was extremely sexually abused. So, anyways, we were hanging out. The kids were in the back room. She had a daughter, well, she's passed now, but her daughter has Down syndrome. Her daughter is now an adult, but at the time, I think was around Ariana's age, was around 13. A door closed in the back, and I do a sexual abuse, or have in the past, on a sexual abuse prevention training, and I went, and one of the things is, they close the door, just know that you can check in. Well, I had that instinct. I started, but my friend was talking about something, and I just kept talking and not checking. Luckily, I did a lot of body safety stuff with my daughter when she was really young. So as soon as we came out of the house, she said, "Mom, Grace touched me." And then even though I had the training, instead of just saying, "Tell me more," I was like, "Was it over the clothes or under the clothes?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then she was like, "Over the clothes." But then it took, and I just kept saying, "I'm so glad you told me." I told the mom, we talked about it even with the daughter. And then, so like I said, she was around 4 then, and she was lying in the tub, and I remember her hair's all like floating, and just out of nowhere, she's just like, "Mom, I had sex with Grace." And I was like, and then that time I did catch my breath, and I was like, "You're so brave for telling me. I'm so glad you did." And got her out of the tub.
Hold on, you're muted.
Hello?
Hello.
All right, you are there. All right, I can't find the video, but maybe here it is.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I thought I canceled the call, and for some reason I answered rather than cancel, but okay, so yeah, for my daughter. So then I'm brushing her hair and she starts I said, tell me more. I said, you said you had sex. What does that mean? And she goes, here, I'll show you. And she laid me down. She put her fingers by my vagina, and she said, and then we kissed, and it was an open mouth kiss. And I held it together for a moment and I said, here, you brush your hair just for a minute, I'll be back. And then I remember coming in this room in our bedroom and I just bawled to my husband. I was like, this is hard. I can't believe that I am in counseling for sexual abuse and I do trainings on preventing childhood sexual abuse. And then my freaking daughter is touched. And so I try to remediate it, with her. And did she, not my daughter, but the girl that did it, and was like, do you understand, and it's not okay, and had them together, and had Ariana even say like, that's not okay. And we talked to the older girl about those, boundaries of like not someone that's significantly older than you or significantly younger than you. And but then it took a while, and then I did like go to like a victim witness, and she came with me. We went to the police, but then I was just trying to get that older girl resources. I did ask my counselor if I should bring Ariana in. She said, I don't think necessarily. I think you've had the talk. I think you've talked about things with her. But I did watch, I think that was before I went to the courts, but in between it happening and going to the courts, there was a time where we had the conversation and I had her overnight, but the three of us, like she slept on an air mattress and Ariana and I slept on the bed. Out of nowhere, Ariana in the middle of the night just pukes, just like, whoa, like all over my face, all over everywhere. And I was like, shit, this was bigger than I even realized, because her friggin' body knows that this is uncomfortable. And so I cut ties with the family. Quite honestly, it was probably right before Ariana started acting out that girl I hadn't talked to in years. Now her mom passed, and then she wants me back in her life. I did hang out with her for, a few months. Sometimes she was here, sometimes we went to out to eat without Ariana. But then because I was thinking about it, I was like, I can't do this. I don't know if Ariana's stuff is related to this, because I've asked Ariana, I said, does it make you uncomfortable when Grace is over? She's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
And so, but I've stopped, and that is not happening anymore. But yes, it has happened on my end and hers.
Okay. Thank you. Again, thank you for sharing, because generational themes, inner child work, hand in hand. And it seems like the more work we do around healing it's our children just seem to amplify it, so that we have to do the process even more.
Yeah.
So I know, and I can hear it energetically, that there's a lot of guilt and shame going on in regards to that situation. I have it written down, but I do want to go in, because I have a feeling that so much of this is connected to a lot of the aspects of the inner child work that is in there. So I don't find any of this a coincidence that what you've brought up exactly is tied exactly to all of these aspects. Because when we're working with the subconscious, especially preparing to go in to do an inner child work, the subconscious will connect as many dots as possible for us prior to going in. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So for the inner child session, and if I break up at all, just raise your hand, and that way I'll pause, because I know we're having some technical stuff going on. So we're going to go into a visualization, And in this visualization, you're going to find a version of Rene that is younger than 7. So that is the goal. Whether you have memories from younger than 7 or not, we're here to find what I call the core child. She is the one that she could be an infant, she can be 3 or 4, she can be 7, but she's kind of the keeper of your inner child history. And so as we go through this visualization, the goal is to reach and to find that child. And then we will ask her some questions. We'll do kind of, since you're familiar with it, I want you to really get as good of a visualization of her mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being while we're in there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm telling you all of this just so that your subconscious is ready and prepared to kind of take as much visual cues and kind of curiosity as possible. Okay. All right. So take a deep breath first. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for just fully being with everything that is going on and really acknowledging that no wonder you don't want to do anything physically. No wonder there's depression happening. No wonder you can't be organized. No wonder there's so much anxiety. Thank you. Thank you for allowing for yourself to speak these things and put them on the table to visually see, wow, no wonder my brain can't process anything happening right now. And just allowing for that to be put out on the table so that we can actually see what's happening. So let's take one more deep breath. I want you to fill your lungs as full as possible. A deep, 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 deep breath. Raising the shoulders even as deep as you can go. Hold it for just a moment up at the top. And then release. Exhale, 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 exhale. One more. Deep, deep, deep inhale. Hold it just at the top for a moment. And big exhale. And go ahead and go back to regular breathing. And while you're in this space with your eyes closed, I would like for you to visualize a nature setting that feels completely safe to you. What does this nature setting look like?
I think I've felt most peaceful. I moved to Arizona from Boston and to specifically Flagstaff, which is in the mountains. And there's a beautiful mountain that I didn't know the significance of until years after I was here. And it's sacred to many native tribes. Luckily, I can see, and it's unusual for a mountain to be referred to as she, but she's a she. And I pray to her every day and feel that power. So being by the San Francisco peaks is what brings me peace.
Okay. So I want you to go into that mountain range. I want you to find a trail. I want you to imagine the giant pines alongside you. I want you to see that, pine covered trail, maybe some other leaves strewn across it right now. But I want you to see yourself on a trail on that mountain. Do you see yourself there?
Yep. And there's aspens there. So there are thin trees that have a white bark.
Yep.
And a soft little whisper that can sound like the ocean. And so I've been on trails in there walking through the aspens, and I'm there now.
Okay, perfect. And so as you're hearing the whisperings or the quaking, as they call them, of the aspens, and seeing the trail. So imagine that the aspens are making a direct trail for you to follow. You are just going to follow exactly where these aspens lead you to. In the distance, there's going to be a cave. And in this cave, when you see it, you're going to come up to the the front of it. It's going to be black inside and you're waiting on the outside. Do you see it?
Yes.
So I want you to know that this cave is absolutely safe for you. Everything that you are going to find in this cave, you are ready to find, you are ready to see, and it is only going to show you what you are willing and able and capable of witnessing right now. Okay? So before you step in, just scan in your body and make sure that this feels completely safe to you.
Yes.
Okay. And as you step in, you're going to step into the darkness. You're going to step in fully and immerse yourself into the darkness of this cave. As you begin to kind of get familiar and feel the sensations of being in the dark, you sense that there is a version of yourself younger than 7 hidden inside the darkness of this cave. In the palm of your hand, there's going to be a light source that appears, whether it's an old candle or a lantern or a ball of light. What kind of light source is in your hand?
Lit up crystal ball.
Perfect. So as you take this lit up crystal ball, you're going to be able to see the cave more clearly. You're going to be able to see the cave walls. You're going to be able to see if there's any drippings in there. You're going to see if it's dry or wet. You're going to see if there's crevices. Maybe your inner child is hidden behind one of these crevices. So I want you to walk around in this cave with this lit up crystal ball and find that little girl that's hidden in there.
Yeah. I think it's a rose quartz.
Okay.
So 7 and younger, or younger than 7?
Younger than 7. Are there 2 or is there 1 there?
One. I mean, initially two times in that 7 and younger came to mind. But if we're
Okay.
focusing on the under 7, it's probably my 5-year-old self.
Okay, perfect. What does she look like? How is her hair kept? What does her clothes look like? What is her emotions?
Uh, her hair is, I don't know if you've ever heard the term banana curls, like a Shirley Temple hair.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Kind of well kept in a dress, little white fold over socks with the lacy things on them,
Yep.
black patent leather shoes, a blue kind of dress coat. And I remember my school bag, because this was kindergarten age, was I'm a child of the 70s, a felt blue bag, like kind of like carry bag. It had an owl, and it has a felted owl on the front of it.
Interesting that the owl comes back in for the wise one. Just wanted to throw that out there real fast. No coincidences.
Right.
And so as you see this little one, you can see how absolutely precious she is, correct?
Yep.
You can see how by all appearances she is made to appear perfect. Everything in her life is perfect by all appearances. The outside world would never suspect or know anything is wrong with this situation, correct?
Yep. That was the biggest thing for me to work over in counseling too, was the white picket fence kind of
Yep.
mentality, you know.
Can you ask her, what does she need?
Her mom to intervene.
Mm. What does that look like? Does that actually look like pulling that person out of the picture completely? Does that look, how does that look? Does that feel, is that taking her somewhere safe? Is that speaking up for her? In what ways does that look like?
Asking hard questions. Like you said, I
Mhm.
mean, this is generational, and my mom's 80 now, and she just really, for the first time, said some people just can't touch those hard parts. And I knew for the first time ever, I mean, I knew it in counseling too, the first time I heard her speak to my suspicions. Like, it's too hard for me to touch this. I can't do it for my kids, and it would shatter my world.
Mm.
For my mom.
So
But
this
I,
little girl really needs somebody to get to the bottom of this, correct?
yeah, and help understand, or I didn't recognize what I was going through until literally I was like freaking 40 years old.
Yeah.
And to have someone that at least must have had suspicions, if not, I'm pretty damn sure, like, I think she actually caught us in an act, and I held a lot of resentment to her for that. But it's just like, how can you walk away and not freaking see it or not want to help?
Yeah. And so I want you to tap into that little 5-year-old right now. And these are big emotions that have no answers. And I want you to just hold her and let her know that this will never happen again to her. That you, as you are now, you see her and you are going to do everything possible to protect her, correct?
Yes.
I want you to ask her if she's ready to go out of the cave, out of the darkness, out of the shadows.
My jaw's getting all tight. The back of my throat's clearing up. I mean, the honest answer is no. I am safe here, and there's no one
Yeah.
that I have to take care of here.
Yeah. 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 Beautiful. Thank you for speaking that boundary. So what I'm going to do, instead of bringing her out into the light of the aspens yet, I want you to show her this sacred mountain space that you are going to take her to. I want you to show her that there is nothing there that is going to harm her. I want you to show her this mother mountain that is so ferociously protective of her children. She doesn't know that this even exists. She's lost in the dark. She doesn't even know that there's a safe space. All she knows is that she has to hide. That's the only way she knows how to be safe, correct?
Yeah.
I want you both to look towards the cave opening. And I want you to see your higher self, or who I call the magical mother of yourself. I want you to see your higher self walk into the cave and bring that aspen forest into the cave with her. Does that make sense? What does your higher self look like?
Funny you should say that, because I chuckled. She's taller than me. I'm 4'11", and she was not 4'11". Um, I have to admit, this is always the hardest part for me. Visualizations aren't easy. I'm kind of eager, but I'm getting there.
You're doing incredible. You're tapping in emotionally, and that for me is perfect. So you are doing amazing. You are connecting to the places inside of yourself that are very uncomfortable, and you are doing an incredible, incredible job.
You're still there. Sorry, phone off again. She looks like taller. Casually dressed. Kind of a lightness about her. Can just tell, like, a trust the process kind of person, like all is good.
I want her to approach both of you. And as she looks at you and this sweet little girl with her banana curls and her perfect dress, I want you to see, maybe for the first time, a look of absolute unconditional love and acceptance. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that you could ever do that would cause her to not look at you with absolute love and acceptance. She loves everything about you. She sees the guilt and the shame and the sadness and the frustration and the unknowing, and she loves you. She loves you so fully that she takes you both in her embrace and just holds you. And she is the one who is going to ask you the hard questions. But she's not going to ask you the hard questions to bring up the trauma. She's going to ask you the hard questions of, are you ready to give up your worthlessness? Are you ready to learn from these experiences instead of bring them into your life over and over again? Are you ready to fully see the wisdom that you did have, that you did implement, instead of the guilt and shame that you think you need to carry? Where do these land when you're feeling your jaw? Is your jaw staying loose? Is it being able to receive these? Okay.
Yeah. I literally felt like I got a big hug from her, like a group hug.
Yes.
The feel,
Yes.
and my jaw is open, my throat is
Yes.
open, and my heart feels a little lighter.
Yes. Okay. Does your little girl, does this beautiful little 5-year-old Renee and yourself, are they ready to go into this mountain space now? Does she feel safe to step out of this cave?
Yes. With me and my higher self. And
Yes.
me now also likes that my higher self is the guide, like where
Yes.
I can be in this space, but have full faith that my higher self is there to keep me safe.
You no longer have to try to control everything. You no longer have to try to lead this very confusing life. You finally have a guide that is accessible and loving and very easy to connect with. And so as you step out into this aspen forest, you can see the sun shining. Your little girl is not hidden away. She is seen, she is loved, she is accepted, she is protected fiercely, not just by your higher self, but by this mountain mother who would do anything. She would rage a storm against anything that tried to touch her. I want you to see, hand in hand with your higher self and that little girl, all of you making a triangle. This is the sacred trinity, the past, present, and the future. This is you whole. You have found a complete picture of your wholeness, of what is possible. And when you're ready, you can take this whole image and cover it in maybe a rose quartz imbued light and pull it into your heart space. And at any moment, it is right there to connect with. Anytime you need guidance, anytime you need reassurance, anytime you need anything, you now have everything you need right within you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and wiggle your toes and move your neck around to come back into this physical space. Well done. For not being a visualizer, whatever you did, you got there. You did amazing.
Felt good too. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'm also a little note taker, so I want to write that little triangle down.
Yeah. I'd love to hear any insights or things that you kind of are shifting, just so we have them captured in this recording for yourself for later on too.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that came to me too is, especially when you said like the triangle or like the big hug, if I need it, like I can picture that big hug again. But also with the triangle, just like, you know, I do a lot of work with vulnerable populations and trying to get their voice. And yeah, instead of going off on a tangent there, but just to say that's kind of what, in a way, got my daughter into some things too, was offering compassion to the most unsupervised kids in our neighborhood. But what I felt, one was that big hug, but then also that each one of us has those components there. And so, and I do think what's helpful is when I feel like I can't do something, to trust that my higher self knows how to do it.
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Because you, as you are, has had the trauma, the programming, the guilt, the shame. You've had all these life experiences to wear your trust of yourself down, whereas your higher self has not had any of that.
Yeah. Or has, but found her inner peace anyways.
Yeah. So when from just my own understandings of my higher self, they are really my soul. They are the integration of all of my lives. And so I feel my higher self doesn't necessarily have those same programs because they've integrated all of the experiences to just get that wisdom. They are the wise. You found your wise one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now when you say that statement, I am the wise one, you can even say, like, maybe not me, but my higher self, absolutely. And you can say it in integrity, knowing how to access that now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your whole body just shifted differently when you like integrated that.
Yeah, completely. Because yeah, I mean, has been a powerful experience too. I mean, I'm, all about our higher selves, and are we like, star children and perfect beings and all that, but it really brought it down to an earth-based, and my business is based on relationships. And so that relationship, like knowing that each of us has different capacities at different times. But now I won't forget to keep her in the circle, like, come on over here. I might not feel like you're part of me, but you are. And quite honestly, just to have that wise one, like, it's just been like an aha. Not that I already hadn't heard that or journaled that or any of it, but it's definitely hitting in a different way as far as,
well, you've experienced it, you've integrated it. It's not just an affirmation, it's not just
right,
words.
right. Yeah. And I think that, me and physical activity stuff, that's part of it. Like, not that I won't walk, like if I go with my friend or I go with my husband, then I enjoy it. But for myself, I don't. Now I realize kind of why. And I did tell my friend that the other day. I was like, I'm literally scared to move my body. And she's like, you're scared? And I'm like, yes, I am. I was like, if I go with someone, I'm fine. But on my own, I don't like it. And so now I can remember that I know it's a best practice to go with somebody else, but even if I do something on my own, my higher self is there with me too. And that must be a work in progress because my jaw started tensing up again. But
Yeah. And that's a very vulnerable space to be in, though, right? Alone, without the protection, that sort of thing. I mean, cellularly, it makes sense. So for you, really having the accountability of others, either going to a yoga place or really creating space for yourself to be in security and safety with others, if that's how you need to do it, honor that until there comes a moment where you step out of your door and your higher self and you are just going for a walk. You know what I, but like, if that doesn't happen for 4 years, that's okay. There's nobody judging you or pushing you to have that appearance of being something that you're not, because your little girl did that her whole life. She's been there, done that. She had to live that. You don't have to live that anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that that gave a lot of power. I don't know where we are in time, but I mean, the other thing that did come up too is that I do still have my parents in my life, you know, like when I was going through counseling for 4 years, I didn't contact them. I told them why. And my dad acted like I was crazy. And I said, I'm gonna let it go. I was like, because like I said, well, or maybe I didn't, but I was raised very Catholic too, Catholic school, all the rest. And I said, well, when you go to see God, he will remind you what you have forgotten if you don't think that anything happened. And I was mad at my mom during counseling for not being there for me, that I worked that more out with them. But I was honest with her just to say that it happened. And she just said, that's all I got. And so for 4 years, I went silent. And then I said, all right, let me try to do this. And so I was trying to call my mom. Like I told my dad, don't answer the phone. If you don't answer the phone, then I'll talk to mom. And, you know, I was trying to do it monthly. I moved to try to do it weekly, but it's usually every few weeks that I give her a call. But it still I feel like I'm getting somewhere with my mom, and I don't really care what my relationship is with my dad, honestly. But it has amazed me. It's only been 2 times in the past 5 years, I think, that I've gone to where they're living now in Kentucky, and I can be in a house or around my mom and dad for like 3 and 4 days, and I come back and I'm like, what did I say to my dad? Like 3 sentences. Like, how can you be in a house with somebody and we just all, and with my siblings, we're at different layers with it all. But that's taken another deep dive. But thank you for reminding me that my higher self is there. The other pieces is, I'm sure she has been already helping me navigate the relationships that are still existing. And so knowing that it's not necessarily, the trauma piece is all in the past, and that's what I need to remember in the going forward. Just trust my higher self, that if I feel okay with connection, then a connection's fine. If I don't, then I don't. And it's
Exactly.
not a bad person for not wanting contact.
No, and as far as the trauma being in the past, it is something that will become integrated eventually, and your higher self will really help integrate each of those pieces, because we don't want her being stuck, dissociated, or isolated, right? We eventually want you to be in fullness, your inner self, your higher self, and who you are now, fully integrated. But that's a process. And quantumly and quantum physics says it could happen instantaneously at any moment. And you can also be in a journey of it, coming in and out of it, playing with those components of yourself, right? That's what this physical lifetime is about.
Yeah. No, I mean, the one part that gives me hope, and I've talked about it with my husband too, with historical traumas and other ways. I know that I come from a long line of women who have experienced sexual violations and depression. And I am the chain breaker, for going to trauma counseling, like for a place that kind of specializes in that,
Yeah.
for like 3 years, to doing the 1 billion rising and teaching my daughter like the flash dance and doing that out in the streets, and giving my daughter tools about her body enough that she could tell me that it happened.
Yeah.
All of that feels I guess just want to give myself credit, like I'm doing my best to be a chain breaker.
Yes.
And I've told my husband that the same thing around, alcohol and Native community. I mean, that's part of colonialism and all the rest. I'm like, dude, I want to be a chain breaker. I hope you do too,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want you to be discouraged that because your daughter is repeating some of these cycles, that you're not breaking those chains.
Yeah.
Because her living out these experiences for you to experience is reminding you of what still needs to be processed. So that you can go deeper, so that she can go deeper, because we live in this world, right? We live in this environment. So allowing for that to be enough as well.
Mhm. Yeah. And something else that came up just after I have Ariana in counseling, it was like last year, then this year, and after like 4 sessions, she wants to leave. And she always says, "You make me mad, and counseling makes me mad. That's why I don't want to go, because it makes me mad." I need to find the right way, but I think that I want to ask her, remember what happened with Grace? Does that make you mad?
Yeah.
You know? And that could be some chain breaking for her and for us.
Yeah.
And she
Or
might say no or whatever, but
yeah. Well, and for you to maybe even experience your own, share your own experience of this, of, hey, just to let you know, my 5-year-old self had a very, this, when a lot of my sexual abuse started, and I find it a horrible coincidence that you were 5. I just want to let you know that I'm still working on this and it still makes me mad. So I understand if you're still upset, because ultimately it's all about relationship and intimacy and connection. So you creating vulnerability in your own space for her, whether she accepts it or rejects it, there's the intimacy there that she can meet at any time. Because sometimes, especially for our teenagers, wanting them to become intimate first is very difficult for them. Whereas if we strip down and get intimate first, sometimes we can open that up a little bit easier.
Mhm. Whew. And nothing I'll say is this is like perfectly timed. I mean, of course it is, right? But I'm actually going to take Ariana and meet my sister. My sister lives in Mesa, which is like 2.5 hours away, but we're going to meet at a halfway point. It's her birthday. My sister comes with a lot of mental health issues, a lot of substance use, but she's at the point now at 44. It's her birthday. That's why we're going to do it. Of really kind of starting to reckon with some of it, and knows about the Ariana deal, and the wounded child in her wants to talk to Ariana. And the only thing that I had said, so anyways, this will be helpful, that relationship piece and what's there. But what I reminded her too, just because even though she's on meds for depression, you know, they're not working. I think she's on wrong meds.
Yes.
And she doesn't go to counseling. And I just said, I just want to make sure, like, let's hone into the key points. You can share with Ariana whatever you want to share, but make sure it's for her benefit, you know, like
that you're
so
just not pouring into her more trauma.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I will be hopeful and prayerful and ask my highest self how I guide that. I did send a text, like, say whatever you want to Ariana, but these are my main points that I'd love for her to hear from both of us. And we'll see where it goes. But just, you know, that positive relationships and, you know, being vulnerable. I mean, I have a feeling that for better or for worse, I'm not assuming everything's going to go perfectly well, but that here I have some new tools, new thoughts, kind of a new, like you said, even little body language going into this weekend to see, I don't know, what comes to light, what gets healed. Hopefully things don't get more confusing, but
and it is nice that you're going into this meeting with the help of your higher self rather than just going into this meeting as your inner child. Because oftentimes we go into these places, your inner child has most likely been running your business for the past 4 years, which is what makes, I ran my business for the first 4 years as my inner child. And I was like, why isn't this working? Because my inner child was doing out of a trauma response and people pleasing versus actually stepping into my higher self and having my higher self run my business. Completely different business.
Yeah, no, that gives light too, for sure. Because I mean, I've thought of that just even in your podcast, and here you get all excited and be like, it's going to be a moon guide. And I was like, a moon guide in this calendar. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, that's exactly what I wanted to purchase. Like, take me through a year. Because the other thing is, I was trying to do it like, you know, new moon is the first week and the second week, but it changes. It's not always that. It doesn't fit into that. So I was like, how the hell do I keep these in my mind? You know, and so I mark it on my own little calendar. Whatever, but damn, when that comes out, I'm like all about it. So just when I heard you light up and how many pieces came through, I'll keep the hope that that's going to go on with me as well too, and with business and the calling that I have. But it's really exciting to hear where you're at, and quite honestly, how helpful that of a tool that's going to be to so many of us that are trying to tap into those natural rhythms, because our world is absolutely outrageous. Because that's the other thing that just causes me pain. Like, I'm like, I can't even watch the news. Go ahead, tell me the highlights. And then even the other day when my mother-in-law, like, I mean, left, and I usually do, and I don't watch it, but I just tried to show her that I was like, I can't even hear this. I know that there are murder, rapes, you know, all these things that happen every single day, and the speed that we receive it. And so, you know, I think we all need some grounding, and I think that will be I'm trying to tune into it, but what's coming is going to make it so much easier. And your podcast too. I missed you on the waiting week week, but I also know that I'm like, that's her reminder to me, like, girl, this is the chill out week. So how are you chilling out? How are you being present? You know, so even though I'm like, oh, where's Stephanie? Where's Stephanie? Like, you know what? We're resting. That's what we're doing. We are resting. We are being present. We are seeing what comes to us. Not saying I do it all the time, but I love that there is that message in that gap space that says, this is what time of the cycle is meant to, this is how you can replenish. So I appreciate it.
Well, I do really appreciate that feedback, because that all is so helpful to me, going, what's going on when I'm not there, you know, like what's going on in people's minds when I do take that week off. And so it is nice to hear that being absent is creating kind of like oh wait, oh no, I'm resting. Okay. Even if we don't fully do it, it's that reminder to be present to at least a different cycle than what's presented to us. So thank you.
Yeah.
So, sure. And the planner pages are available already in the 30-day moon cycle. Are you getting those already?
You know, I don't know. I don't even know how I found you, and I'm so grateful that I did. And I've never done a Patreon thing, and I'm like, let me start. And then I just kept, oh, I think actually I did on Spotify do a search like moon cycles or something like that. And
Okay.
that's how you came up. Then I was like, wait, Patreon, what's that? And then did the Patreon thing. And then I do hear you mention there's sheets and this and that. But can you remind me, where are they? Is it on the Patreon site?
So it's on the Patreon. It's at the $33 tier. You get the daily planner pages. So with the tier that I think you're doing the $3 tier, correct?
I bumped up to 10, but yeah.
You did bump up to 10. That's right. You did that recently. So if you want to stay there, you're supporting all of it. If you want to get the daily planner pages, it's $33 a month, and they come in, it's a daily email that you get, and the planner pages come right into your email through Patreon. So you'd get all like when the moon's rising, when, what moon cycle it is, you'd get the question. I don't have it. I should have it printed out, but it has like a morning dump for you to just put all your ADHD thoughts in the morning, and then what you actually accomplished rather than a to-do list and things like that in there. So just letting you know that they are available already. That's something that would be helpful.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
So thank you again for just creating intimacy in this space and getting vulnerable with me, so we could really do really powerful work here today. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's, like I said, divinely timed in so many different ways. And my higher self must have been pulling me along like, girl, if there was ever a time, it is now. And she said inner child. Did you hear her say she does inner child work? You know that that's where the lockdown is. So just grateful that, it felt like a simple conversation. And like I said, just, through hearing who you are, there's a lot of overlap and ideologies and all the rest. And I just appreciate you sharing your gift in this way. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So reach out on Patreon. You can always send me a message if you don't want to email me and anything like that. And if you have questions about how to get more plugged in, just message me and we can get you links and all that kind of stuff. So
okay. Yeah,
all
sounds good. It makes me think of my daughter. She's like, you're so old fashioned. And I'm like, I know, I'm heading on 50. So, like I am, I'll be 50 in April. And so, there's these certain things that, I've gotten okay with on the, internet and maneuvering myself around. But I do feel a little bit like it takes me hours to figure out what someone of another generation would do in like 10 minutes.
Right. And I tell people all the time, just send me a link what you need, and I'll find it on a Google thing that tells you step by step, so that you're not sitting there it takes me a second to figure out, hopefully, how to help you navigate better. So just reach out.
All right. Thank you so
all
much.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Have a magical day.
All right. You as well. Take care. Bye.
All right. Bye.